Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I'm doing speed painting in kind of the old style of my speed paintings where I just scribble stuff and look for things in the mess and then try and make something of it. So when I was drawing this, I really didn't have a clue about what it would turn into, and I can't say I'm happy with the end result, but whatever. I'll explain that later. But first, what I want to do is I just want to say thank you to everybody who left a comment on my secret sketchbook and story video. There's a ton of really, really nice and supportive comments, and I had no idea. I had no idea that was going to be the reception. And I feel very, very grateful for all the support. I actually made a thank you video a couple of days after, but I didn't post it because, I don't know, I was... in my sketchbook video, I was being very honest and stuff, so then I thought, well, okay, maybe from now on, I'll just be honest. And then in my thank you video, I started out with saying thank you, which is honest, and, I really appreciate the support. But I kind of wished I felt much better, and I didn't really. So I felt kind of bad, like, oh, I should be happier than I am. And so I felt kind of ungrateful, and then I got upset with myself and thought, no, I can't put out this thank you video when I'm still feeling bad in a way, because after getting so many positive comments, I thought, yeah, I should be feeling better. But like with the joy thing, it feels like I'm in this house and the door is locked, but it's locked from the inside, so I can't get out. And I used to have a key, and I don't know where that key is. And all the comments, all the support, it feels like people keep coming to the house, and then they can't get in, so they just leave these presents at the front of the door. But I can't open that door and take the presents in, so I can just sort of look out the window and see, wow, there's so much support and so many nice comments and so many people who are also going through a lot of hard times, which is sad. But I don't know. I guess it's just sad. It's nice that I'm not the only one, but it's sad because I guess it would be, I don't know. How do you feel happy that someone else is suffering? You can't really feel happy about that or glad, but yeah. So anyway, so I don't know. And now that more time has passed, I still feel not great. Like, I still feel kind of numb to my feelings. However, things are changing over the past couple of weeks since I put out that video with myself anyway, and with art. And so the way I'm painting is kind of like the way I used to paint, except worse, because I haven't had practice, I think. Just scribbling and then making stuff out of it. And the reason for that seems to be that it was kind of before I made the video, but also because I mentioned in a previous speed sketch video how it felt like I was going through this crisis of not really knowing who I am and what I should be doing. And that's been progressing. Like, things are getting, I don't know if it's better or worse, but there is more uncertainty about what my style is or what I want to draw. So I'm just experimenting and letting things just happen. But I guess I can talk about it more freely now. It feels like the narcissistic is kind of resurfacing, but not as a person, but more as a different part of me, if that makes any sense. But it's still separate to the point where I'm drawing, and then I have, it's not quite a voice, but it feels like there is a presence telling me, like, no, you shouldn't do this, and put the lines here, and do this. And I was drawing Kay, my character, Space Waitress Kay, and then this other voice was correcting it and saying, no, this is designed really stupid, and you have to change this. And so it's just stuff like that recently, where art has become this weird place where I have different views, and I don't know which voice is mine, and no, we'll see where it goes. Talking about the image a bit, I'm not sure what to say, really. It's a big giant guy, and he's got, I guess he's a slave trader, and he's got some slaves, and then there's some mage guy with a staff and a lantern, and it's raining, and that's I don't know, it's dumb, but yeah. I was working in black and white because that's how I used to draw. I used to start with black and white, and it's something that, yeah, it's easier to get values, but I kind of forgot how you're supposed to turn black and white into color. It's just been a long ass time since I've painted in this way, but maybe I have to watch some of my old videos to remember how I used to paint. But yeah, I'm focusing on values and just playing this game. What I think of painting is a lot of it is this game of lights against darks. So you'll see there's the figures, and then I added like lighter gray around their heads, and that's to make them pop out. And then you have, so wherever there's light areas, you kind of add a dark beside it so that the light area pops out if you want it to. And if there's a dark area and you want it to pop out, you put light around it. And then you just keep alternating light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. And that somehow makes the image work, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense. And if you want things to fade away and become in the distance, you just reduce the contrast and get rid of that light, dark thing and just let things bleed. Here what I was doing is getting more of that voice in my head, and what it was telling me is you should simplify your values. You're going too detailed, and this is kind of new for me, this idea of simplifying values like this. So what I did is I just made a new layer, and I selected around the guy, and just using a darken layer, which means it's only going to darken things that are lighter than the color you pick, and just knocked it back. And so it's pretty silhouetted, but what it does is it creates this contrast between, you have this figure and he's sort of in shadow, which makes him look more imposing, and then you have like the giant guy, and then you have the mage guy who's very bright, and that's the big contrast. Like, okay, the small bright dude, and then the big dark dude. That's the thing. But yeah, really not knowing what I'm doing. And then here I'm just trying to vignette it by darkening the corners so that your eye goes towards the focal point. Here I wanted to add some foreground information, but I realized there's a huge tangent going on with the staff, and then that foreground thing, it's just mimicking the same angle of the staff, so that will have to be fixed. I'm trying to put in like some kind of light source behind to make sense of that rim light. When you, or when I was doing card art, a lot of things just get rim light just cause. Like, it's not necessarily that this makes sense. It just is something that you do because it helps pop out a form. And I think it's fine to draw like this. Like, you don't need everything to make sense. You don't have to have it so, oh yeah, this light is from this place. You can sort of just imagine that, yeah, there's probably something in this image that's making that light appear or that shadow appear. And this happens in real life. Like, if you imagine you were taking a photo of someone and there was a really tall tree, but it was out of frame, but it still casts a shadow on that person, and maybe it creates like shadow patterns on them, as you know, some of the leaves are blocking the light. Well, you wouldn't really worry about that when you're taking a photo, but it's something that a lot of times as artists we don't really take advantage of, that you can kind of just do whatever. You can, you know, bring a person into shadow just because maybe something off screen is blocking the light. Like, maybe there's a big heavy cloud that is obscuring some of the light, and it lets you design the lights and shadows more. So yeah, you can not necessarily have to be correct in all these things. Here I'm trying to just add detail, but keep it really simple. So when I add detail to the background, the idea is not to make it too attention grabbing. And one of the problems I used to have is I kept adding too much contrast everywhere, and almost like you want to add attention. It's much easier, I think, but it's much easier to add things that shouldn't necessarily be there. Here I'm just fooling around with color, seeing if I can make it a bit more interesting so it's not purely monochrome. But I don't know, it wasn't quite working, so I'm probably going to tone it. Well, I am going to tone it down. I'm not probably going to do it, but yeah, so for instance, all here, it's very subtle in how I'm adjusting values, and I'm making them more similar than different. Because sure, I could put like bright clouds and a really bright moon, and maybe the moon has rim light over the clouds, and there's mountains in the background and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, that's not really helping your story. Or, I mean, maybe it does, but in this case, I don't think it does. It just sort of makes the story more complicated than it needs to be. So, yeah, the lesson for me, the lesson of the day was really just try to simplify things, and you don't have to describe all the forms. You don't have to make everything super rendered. You can just let things go into shadow. So I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.